Yeah, that's a good time to say it, Victoria. Thank you. So I'm glad they recorded it, Anita. I missed it, so I'm really
Oh,
happy.
did you see it, Victoria? It was wonderful.
No, but I want to get on with meetings. We never have enough time to talk about what we're supposed to talk about. And I wanted to talk about extending the meeting a half an hour in our development to be able to deal with all the issues we have to deal with, at least for a while. But I wanted to be on the agenda regarding the legal question, especially steamer landing, but other issues if anybody is concerned.
Yes, we put that on the agenda, the steamer landing thing already, Victoria. Good. So for those of you who came in a few minutes later, what we're going to do, because we have Dave Edmonds and John Mutz here to talk about the sheriff's race, we're going to start with that, and then we'll do our other agenda items after we have that discussion. It is, well, it's only 4 minutes. Let's wait 4 minutes, and then we'll start talking about the sheriffs. So if you have a 2-minute announcement or any other thing you want to say, we could sing Happy Birthday, Martin. Just an idea.
I don't know if that's the
Whose
right
birthday is it?
song to sing for Martin.
Whose birthday?
Martin Luther King Jr.
Well, I want to say happy Martin Luther King Day to everybody, and may you have a wonderful day of service and protest. And I think that us being present here at this meeting today, without a blink of an eye that it was a holiday or anything, because we're used to working on holidays, that our service, this is our service, homeless action, exclamation point. And not only that, it's our protest too. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree. I think Martin would be just fine to know that we're meeting on his birthday to talk about homelessness in Sonoma County. All right, let us talk about Victoria.
And I had the privilege today of putting a blanket under somebody's head that was knocked out in front of the Universalist Unitarians today.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing it.
Yeah, but at least he was alive, so we were happy.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, we're going to talk about the sheriff's race. The election for the new sheriff is in November. So we've got some time to campaign or help or support various candidates. I think maybe I'll just introduce you and let you or John or Dave sort of give an overview, like who's running and what are the stakes. And we know the current sheriff, I think we all know this, the current sheriff says he's not going to run again. That's Essex. So Dave, John, who wants to start?
Let me thank you, Adrian, and thank you all for giving us this time and you know, your generosity in putting us up front. That appreciate that. I just, you know, most of you know me. Haven't seen you since the last sheriff's race, probably. Although we've continued to be very active. You probably connected with us with Measure P, and our success there, worked very hard, and you know that Measure P team. So when this race was approaching, you know, I said, well, let's find a candidate that can challenge the existing, you know, the existing system. We were hoping that Essex would run, but he backed out, as you all know, as you said, Adrian. But he, you know, he appointed, like they do, he appointed the heir apparent. My understanding is from inside information, he went through several people who said, no, 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 I don't want to do that. And ended up with who the DSA has selected, which they always select the sheriff. We believe that this process of electing sheriffs is a democratic process. But it's done way before it gets to the voters. And Measure P really had the DSA step back a little bit. We went up against them and we won. So now, pardon me?
Did you say DSA? What was?
Deputy Sheriff's Association, their union.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No problem.
So now we are in a new era.
Excuse me,
Yes.
can I have the name of the speaker again?
Sure. This is John
name of
Mutz, who ran for sheriff in the last round.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So now we approaching this race, I researched, who's available that would actually be electable, be a candidate who not only could be elected, but actually could lead the change. And I based that on our work nationally in this area, and then looked at us locally. As you know, the challenge we face is always local. How do we engage the local issues and align people around it? So I found several articles written by Dave that prompted me to research him more. I actually contacted him and said, I think you are our best bet to run, to actually win. And Dave was saying, whoa, I have a good life. Things are good for me. I have grandkids, I have children, just like you, John. I said, but you're younger, Dave, and you were an insider. And so over several conversations, Dave talked it over with his family and Leslie, and said, okay, I'll be in. I want to challenge the system. And so that's how that's where we came to at this point. It's although we've had Measure P pass, which is an extraordinary piece of ballot, and it won't be enough, and it hasn't been enough around the country to actually change the culture of the law enforcement agency they have oversight over. I can detail you city after city, county after county, whatever. Not to say that it's not a critical element. It is a critical element. However, unless you have a leader inside the agency who is willing to lead the change, nothing will happen. And speaking from experience of being a former insider, leading that change in difficult commands, you have to be have extraordinary skills, I would say, to be able to do that. So anyway, I just wanted to end with that's how we came to Dave Edmonds. Heather and I both interviewed him, and we decided that we would be full in and support him. So that's where we are. And as you all know, we have a range of candidates now. So we have the Deputy Sheriff's Association, Eddie Ingram, but we now have Dave, and we have Kevin Burke, and we have Carl Tenenbaum. So I'll stop there and have Dave continue on. I was going to say, how much time do we have? I
think we could take most of an hour for this.
Okay.
We'll see how, if the discussion gets kind of vibrant and excitable.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll just listen to what you have to say and ask you a few questions and let you go out and do your service for the day.
Okay. Absolutely. All right, Dave, you're on.
Also, Adrian,
John,
considering the holiday, it would not be unreasonable to go a little longer. Thank you.
Thank you. So, John, you mentioned a few names, Heather and Leslie, and
Heather, my wife, my anchor, the genius of our family, and a tireless activist. And then Leslie is Dave's partner, and she is active in this process and supporting him and so on like that. And I wanted to meet Leslie and have conversations with her as well, and talk to her about it. As you all know, the reality of being a candidate is extremely difficult. It's just an amazing challenge, particularly when you're challenging the system. And I wanted to make sure that Leslie understood it all and was really engaged. And so I came away knowing that she was. And so that's who Leslie and Heather are. Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So we did hear from Carl Tannenbaum, and we'll probably invite some or all the other candidates. I don't know yet.
Mhm.
I think you mentioned someone I hadn't heard of. So if you wouldn't mind, John, in the chat, just list the candidates.
Mhm.
And the one that's the Deputy Sheriff's Association, I think we can assume is going to be the more conservative voice.
Right.
All right, Dave. What do you want to do? What's going on with the sheriffs? How are you going to fix it? Come on, tell us.
Well, I have to put 10 pounds of potatoes into a 5-pound sack, it sounds like, but I'll give it a try. I'll give you a brief introduction. And I'm really looking forward to your questions. And I hope they're hard, not only for me, but for everybody, because I think we need to turn the bright lights up on this. And, light is a great disinfectant. So that's my hope. Please, let's not leave without any questions left unanswered. So I'll give you a brief introduction of me beyond what John said. My name's Dave Edmonds. I'm 58 years old. I live in Sonoma County, and with my wife, it'll be 35 years pretty soon, in a few months. And we have 3 children, although they're not children anymore, of course. My 2 sons, Adam and Tommy, are Santa Rosa police officers. Me and Leslie couldn't talk them out of it. And there's some truth to that, because this is a hard job to do right, and there's easier ways to make money. So if you're truly knitted to the purpose behind it, I would say it's a calling in a way. I've written about these things. And then my daughter Emily is in graduate school getting her master's degree. She's going to be an English teacher at the high school level. So we moved up here in 1985 to Sonoma County from the little town of Hanford, California, which is in the Central Valley where I grew up. And so let's just start there. I'm going to try to give you all this in like about 5 minutes or maybe less. Okay. So I grew up in the Central Valley, California, poor, candidly. My parents were abjectly poor. I'm talking about John Steinbeck level stuff, and they're amazing human beings. And they were the pivot point for our lineage. Their hard work and who they were allowed my brother and me to go to the next level in the capacity to provide for yourself. So in fact, me and Tommy, my brother, are the first in our lines to ever graduate high school. Nobody before us have.
Wow.
So we grew up in a Latino community, and they embraced us there. I learned Spanish there, and it was a great living experience down there. My brother became a cop and with the sheriff's office, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I did good in school and I had great grades, very good grades. I didn't know what to do. So at 19, I said, well, I'll try this cop thing for a little while. Put myself through the academy. I want to let you know I'm really, really competitive. And I think that's going to help me in this race. And it's how I put a lot of people in prison, staying up at night, trying to outthink some of these people, and successfully so. So anyway, I was a cop. I put myself through the academy, went to the Hanford Police Department, worked 2.5 years, and I decided I want to be somewhere. I didn't know anything. We've never been anywhere, never flew an airplane, anything. Didn't know anything about life, but I knew I wanted to work somewhere where there were mountains and oceans, and it was pretty. I preferred a sheriff's office because I didn't like to do traffic enforcement so much. I'm interested in helping the community, in the criminal issues. So Sonoma County was hiring. I got hired here in 1985, and then 30 years happened. So in that time, I was on patrol for 9 years. I really was invested in all these positions. I want you to compare us side by side. I have a lot of experience, which is foundational in every one of these areas of law enforcement. 9 years on patrol, 4 years as a violent crimes homicide detective. Most of you have been around here. You remember 1989, the mass murders, Ramon Salcido mass murders. I was the lead investigator for that, and many other cases that, were high publicity. So I did 9 years on patrol, 4 years as a detective, 8 years as a sergeant, is a field supervisor, and I also led the violent crimes homicide detective unit as a sergeant, and I was also an internal affairs sergeant, supervisor there. I fired bad cops and other people while I was there. I'm going to do it again when I get in, probably, because with 750 staff, there's probably some cleanup that needs to be done, and it will be done effectively and legally. I'm not afraid of those things, and I want a clean organization at the heart level. So anyway, 8 years sergeant, 2 years as lieutenant, and 6 years at the command rank of captain. I like to work. I like to be a part of a process. The sheriff came in who worked for me. All these guys worked for me, by the way. Steve Freitas, Mark Essick, Eddie Ingram, their heir apparent. They all work for me, and I know them.
Dave, hold on just a second. Would everyone mute if you're not talking? I think Eddie, you particularly, you've got some background noise. Thanks. Go ahead, John. I mean, Dave.
Yeah, you bet. So when Steve Freitas came in, I tried to, I kind of saw what was coming because, again, he worked for me, and I tried to help him, and he put me on a shelf. I couldn't help him. So when you have a job that you're passionate about, but you're not really allowed to do, because the sheriff is a very powerful position. I had my 30 years in, and I said, Leslie, I have these two hopeful national law enforcement nonprofits that hold my heart. I started both of them. One of is called 360 Armor. It's a national law enforcement police fitness and wellness nonprofit organization. We have a vision to help cops everywhere live and work better according to some foundational principles. And so I threw myself into that, and then into a national law enforcement chaplaincy program. I was one of the founders of our local chaplaincy, police chaplaincy. It's probably the best in the nation, and I could talk on and on about it, but there was me and a core group of 4 other people that we built a new type of model that wasn't just clergy, it wasn't proselytizing, it was caring for people in their darkest hours. And the amazing things that our chaplaincy does here, my heart wells up and I get a lump in my throat thinking about it, sincerely. So I want that goodness to pervade through other communities. So I started this nonprofit to help other communities have what we have. So I had things to go to when I retired in 2013. And it wasn't much long after that Andy Lopez happened at the sheriff's office. I was an outsider looking in. I would say that Steve Freitas, every decision he made, he should have picked the opposite one. He might have done a lot better. Okay, that was a tragic situation. And I agree that John took part in this great video. If you've seen it, it's going to come out on PBS. It's 3 Seconds in October, I think is the name of it. And it elucidated a lot of things to me that I never knew, because a lot of us didn't know. So really elucidating. And so anyway, I'm going to try to fast forward a little bit. I've been writing for a dozen years, law enforcement. I write on police culture, professionalism, fitness, wellness, goodness. I have good idea of goodness. I have a national following. I'm the contributing editor and the content director of the nation's largest law enforcement magazine, American Police Beat. Almost all cops know it. Almost all 18,000 chiefs and sheriffs in the nation get a copy. And I try to speak truth into them, and I enjoy it. It's a good job. And by the way, somewhere in between there, I taught for 5 years at the university level, law enforcement leadership and management. There's dozens and dozens of cops in this county who got their bachelor's degree through me primarily. So I'm all in, and I have a master's degree in organizational leadership at Gonzaga University that my mom's really proud of, because again, me and my brother were the first to graduate high school. So we just try hard. We roll up our sleeves and we work hard. Now I probably missed some stuff, but we need to get to this homeless issue. It's a thing that holds my heart. It's one of the areas in my life that I'm passionate about, and I have been in law enforcement. I've been on the board of directors for the Redwood Gospel Mission for a dozen years now. And the changes that I have seen happening to real men and women, going from homeless to hopeless, to having a home and a job and keeping them and staying off alcohol and drugs, It's exciting to me. I want to be a part of the solution for this thing. I think that your group, which I love, and all of the resources that are available specifically in Sonoma County compared to other communities around the nation, all of the activism that happens in this county, which is peculiar on a nationwide level in a good way, the resources of our government, which holds the purse strings, our nonprofits and our faith communities. I think what I want to do, what I hope to do as sheriff, is see how we can coalesce together to create a new therapeutic, meaningful model that causes real change in this population that is underserved. I agree with you on that. I want to be a part of it. I'm not an expert on it, but I want to tell you that I'm passionate about these things. And I want to join you, and I want you to join me. And by the way, this is election season. People are going to say stuff, okay? I will never, ever, ever times 10 say anything that I don't believe. I'm not going to just try to do anything to earn your vote. I'm going to win this fairly or not. But I know that I'm always going to be able to look myself in the mirror. And I would say that just be cautious when you're listening to other people. You can other candidates, because you can tell what a person really loves and what a person's really passionate about by what they spend their time, money, and effort in on their personal time. I have literally thousands of hours of my personal time in pursuing visionary, hopeful nonprofit enterprises here locally. So I want to be a part of the solution. John got a hold of me, wasn't planning to do any of this. And my wife and I talked it over. And if you can't tell, I'm really passionate about this hope for law enforcement, improving nationwide. I have these thoughts about how we can create a new model of law enforcement, and we can create it here so that it can be mimicked in other communities. And I'm excited about it. So that was my truncated best effort to give you the short version. I apologize for the longness of it, and I want to take your questions. Thank you very much. You're muted, Adrian.
I'm muted. So does anyone have questions that are just like I asked, what was the 360.org, 360armor.org, and now it's in the chat. Are there any questions of sort of fact that people have before we get into some of the issues? If you could raise your hand physically, I see there's lots of hands in the.
Good.
Yeah,
Anita,
Anita.
Victoria.
Question.
And Victoria.
Yeah. Anita, did you have a factual question?
Yes, I have a
I'd like-
factual question, but Victoria's going ahead.
Go ahead, Victoria.
Okay. The name of the PBS documentary again?
3 seconds in October, right, John?
That's right. Okay.
3 seconds in October.
Yes, it's outstanding. I think, John, it's going to be televised nationally. Is that true?
Yeah, that's, yeah, I was muted. Yeah, that's true, Dave. It's going to be, it's garnered a lot of early excellent reviews, and it's an extraordinary film, and it's local. It's about us. It's
Hey,
about.
by the way, I have a software that can record screens, and I did record all of that. If anybody wants to see it now, email me and I'll send you the link. You can just watch it on your screen.
Great.
Okay.
If you put your contact information in the chat, that would be helpful. All right, Anita, a question of fact, and then we'll get into all the issues.
You mentioned that you were very competitive and that you hustled to get people put in jail. How do you feel about putting prisoners? How do you feel about putting homeless people into jail? Is that a question of fact?
No, but I'll take it anyway.
Nobody
Good
goes
question.
to
Let's just
jail
do
for
it.
homelessness in my administration. That's not a crime.
So say that again, because I was talking over you, Dave.
I said, nobody goes to jail for homelessness in my administration. That is not a crime.
Okay,
All
but
right,
19%
details
of
on
the
that. Eddie, you're
participants
next.
are in jail, are from homeless people.
Well, I understand that. Some homeless people do commit crimes that and they should be held accountable for it. I was really speaking
Okay.
about, you know, the people that kept me up at night were really bad criminals, okay? And just candidly, I probably put more child molesters in prison than anybody in this county easily. I was a polygraphist for 6 years, and those are all have to be confession cases, by the way. And I've gotten, treat these people right, and I've got dozens and dozens of confessions from those people. So.
Thank you. Eddie,
Hello, can you hear me?
yep,
I'll put myself on video too. How's that? Is that better? Hi, thanks for letting me speak. And hello, Chief. And thanks for your passion. And I am also passionate about a specific group, a group of people who have no protection, no rights, and can seek no justice. Because as a specific group of lower economic class, where they're not protected under civil rights. And what I've noticed in the last couple of years, this has not been an issue so much with police. Thank you. And the police now are more or less standing side, you know, making sure everything goes well, you know, when they are moving people. And so whoever that is, if we could keep that up, that would be good. I think what Anita was referring to is the what homeless people call, you know, getting put in jail for sleeping in the wrong place. And I think that the chief has just made it clear that that's not going to be an issue because that really isn't a crime. And, you know, being on a bus, whatever. So thanks. I'd like to really even develop a really good rapport with you and for and represent the homeless people. Also, I wanted to ask you some other question I forgot.
And you have my email too, so when
Yeah, that'd be great.
tonight,
Yeah.
send me an email.
All right, that would be great. I would like to do that. That would be fantastic.
Indeed.
I'll do that. It'd be better to write it down because I didn't even know you were going to be here, so I just kind of didn't even know what to say. You know, I'm going off.
I have a question.
okay,
Thank
I'll
you
put
so
you on
very
the
much.
stack, Victoria. We have Carrie and Gregory and then Victoria. Thanks, Eddie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carrie?
Yeah, hello. I got a question. You have a vision about the future of policing here in Sonoma County, which is good. We need forward-thinking people, but I'd like to know, do you have a vision on ending homelessness, being as how homelessness is a major portion of what the sheriffs have to deal with?
Yeah, I kind of do, and I share yours. You're talking about a really, we all know how difficult this is, but I'll tell you this, that most of my experience in the homeless, well, by the way, no, that's not true. I was going to say most of it's through the Redwood Gospel Mission, but a lot of it is indeed there because I'm passionate about leading there and being a facilitator for goodness to happen through that organization. But I'll tell you, way back in the 80s, I was a deputy sheriff out in Guerneville, and that was homelessness central for a long time. And I knew all the homeless people out there and had a quality relation. I like people, and I did back then too as a young buck out there. And so I think the first thing about this is relational. Okay, so I think, and you talked about, you know, what are the cops going to do about it? I think it would be neat, and they're going to do this with me, by the way, because and we'll make the model together. Again, I don't have all the answers. I know that we need answers for these things. So we're going to make the model together. Your organization, St. Vincent de Paul, and Redwood Gospel. You listed all of them on your website. You know them better than me. But yeah, I think that law enforcement can be a big part of the solution here. So you used the word vision. I think that it would be so neat if our law enforcement officers could actually go into this kind of a more of a situation where you check on the homeless people. You end up knowing them like I did, and seeing how you can facilitate positive change for them and encouraging them, and have some people, like in families, we have to be accountable to each other. And I think that the accountability thing is missing a little bit. And that's, by the way, a metric that is used successfully at the Redwood Gospel Mission. Our New Life program, which is about a year-long, more or less, boot camp. It's all for free. Pick the right people, and we help them and encourage them and give them job skills. And I will tell you, our performance metrics, the success rate of the people who go through that program it's outstanding. We take people who are hopeless and homeless, and I know you've done this too, but give them the tools to reestablish their essential relationships in their lives, which are almost always broken with all of them. Give them a skill set. We teach these different job sets that are really needed. Jobs are really needed. And we teach them, we give them job skills so they can get a job and they can get their own home, get off alcohol and drugs and have some hope. That's what we all want. And I don't think we're treating our homeless population like they're a part of our community. And when you know that you're not treated that way, you're treated differently, it's harder to get progress. So I think together we can. I am passionate about this. This is one of my platform issues. You only get a few. This is one. I think we can build something really awesome here together that is a model and a template for other communities, and cause goodness to pervade through all of us. So that's what I want to do. I want to try that with you.
So
Wait.
I would like to.
Oh, go ahead, Carrie.
I'd
Sorry.
I'd like to suggest that you look at it in a different light, as opposed to having the homeless go to the services, have the services go to the homeless, as in villages, and housing the people and having the services there so it's readily and available to them. I'd also like to say to you that I'm not going to vote for you or anybody for sheriff, because I can't really show favoritism before the election, because I have to work with everybody or anybody after the election. So I don't want to build up any bad blood. This is just kind of an informational question for me, and maybe relay some information to you. Next person that's coming up, Gregory, is incredibly intelligent and knows a lot more about this than me. So thank you for your answer, and have a good day.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And just a point,
Somewhat
Carrie,
intelligent.
there, the vote is secret. So when you actually vote, you don't, no one will ever know. Gregory.
Hi, Dave. I don't mind pissing off your opponents.
Me neither. We're simpatico.
Okay. I used to work for the sheriff. I spent a year as the manager of the Crime Analysis Crime Prevention Bureau under Dick Michelson. I remember
Well, we worked together then. I was there then.
I know. I was going to say, I remember you out in Guerneville. I remember those cards that you guys all submitted that indicated, what you learned about the person that you had met on the street. And
FI card, yes.
yeah, and the the work of at that point Crime Prevention Bureau, which was only a couple of staff members who were in those little outreach cars, I thought was a pretty good example of community-oriented policing. Dick, as you remember, was probably a little out of his not league, but his insistence, like you do, on training and on going to school and learning, because he was a little less of a hardcore rabid cop than a trainer and a innovator. So my question to you, and I say that only to say that I'm a very big supporter of anybody who's trying to help the sheriff's department walk into the 21st century or 22nd. My question is, sheriffs are elected, and they're the only department head in the county that's elected with the kind of power that it has. And so my question is, is it important that sheriffs be elected, and why not change it so that, unions of sheriffs have the same problem getting themselves elected as every other employee union does?
Oh, well, yeah, I think that's a hard question to really to answer, because you're talking about California law and the way things work, and then when you're throwing politics into it, I'm learning. Okay, I was able to stay out of politics my whole 30-something year career on purpose. In fact, at the captain level, which is a command level position, I was told, hey, Dave, they're thinking about promoting me. And if we do this, you're going to need to do some political stuff for the sheriff. And I said, listen, I'm going to work my butt off, because that's all I do. I'm like a plow horse. You strap me in and I'll pull. Nobody's going to work harder than me. You're not going to get, your product's going to be something you're going to be very satisfied with. But if you need me to go do political stuff, pick somebody else. They picked me anyway. And so I stayed out of politics my whole career. So I'm in a wilderness of mirrors right now with this political stuff and learning. And I told everybody who's helping me, I'm willing to do this because it's the door that I have to pass through. But as long as everything passes a smell test, I have a great campaign manager who's wise and smart. And that's what I told him. I said, I'll do what you tell me to do as long as it's ethical. So I'm learning. I'm the wrong guy to really ask about a political question. So I'm sorry.
I suspect that you'd rather be selected on merit than on political influence.
I'm hoping that we can do that. That's my hope, is we can turn the bright lights up on everybody, compare us side by side, like if you were in the grocery store, read the label and see what's really inside of that product and then pick the best one. If we can do that, I like my odds. I do.
Thank you.
Okay, so try to be everybody concise, because we have bunches of folks to talk now. Victoria, then Teddy, Kathleen, and Sharon. Victoria, you're next. Oh, and Eddie will be back on the end again. Victoria?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm Victoria Yanez, a member of Homeless Action. And I asked the other candidate the same question that I'm going to ask you.
Yes.
And that is, when you took your oath to be an officer, you swore to uphold the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I was wondering if you would ever refuse an order from the Board of Supervisors, who is your boss, I think, to, for example, violate the order in Boise, Martin versus Boise, which says that you cannot move homeless people along unless there's somewhere for them to go. Or the government cannot do that, because everybody has a constitutional right to be somewhere. Now, I was wondering if you would ever refuse an order that you felt was a violation of the Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. And in truth, may I correct you, the Board of Supervisors is not the boss of the sheriff. The Board of it's a relationship akin to our national president and Congress. Congress holds the purse strings, and the president spends the money that they allot. It's the same with the Board of Supervisors in this role. There's 28 county departments, and the sheriff is indeed one of the 28 departments, and we need to all work together, which is going to be a new thing when I get in, because it's not happening now. I'll tell you that. But the Board of Supervisors, their level, so they could not order me There's no law process that would allow them to order me to do anything. I would want to, if they're passionate about something and believe something, we're going to speak and dialogue and learn together. But like the example that you gave me, it's easy for me. I have bright lines on if law enforcement officers are not obeying the law, what's the law worth? So I could not do, especially in an executive position, do anything that was known to be obviously patently illegal for for everybody. No, it's just not a possibility with me. I have much more moral ballast than that, and I promise you, I would not do anything illegal. Period.
Thank you very much. And I was wondering if you were ever a member of the downtown enforcement team as a member of the Santa Rosa Police Department.
No, I don't know about that. And I was at the sheriff's office. My boys are both Santa Rosa cops, and I don't think they're on that thing. So no.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, Teddy, Kathleen, Mila, Sharon, and then Eddie again. So Teddy, you're next.
And then Victoria for a quick one again. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm sorry my camera's not on this morning. Good morning, Dave and John. I met you at the Roseland School Prep dinner, and I wonder how you're doing. So nice to see you. I have two questions that are kind of different from each other. The first one is, you mentioned something briefly about our distinct or different culture in Sonoma County, and I'd like to know how you would plan to address that with some culture change methodologies. I think that's super important in Sonoma County. And the second one is, I wonder if you're familiar with two different models of, I guess, like approaches or theories coming into what people living outside and experience, exposed to the elements are need in terms of treatment. One is housing first, which is very popular at the federal level and siphoning down through the state level. And the second is the recovery model, which seem to be at odds with each other. I'm not sure that they are. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on culture and recovery versus housing first. Thank you.
Okay, those are great questions. So when I was speaking about culture and this county's culture, we have a unique culture here. And I think your question, however, is really about changing the culture inside of the sheriff's office. So I'll just briefly, this county is made up of, it's mostly liberal. It is, there's mostly a high expectation to performance of law enforcement. And there's this, probably more than like Fresno County, which is, the Bible Belt of California. There's probably a hell of a lot more suspicion of cops and holding them greater accountability. So I think that if you can do good law enforcement here, you should be able to do good law enforcement in a lot of places. So, and I have high expectations for good law enforcement, and I held myself to that highest standard. So that's the culture here that I think in a shortened version. Now, with regards to culture change at the sheriff's office, I do think that it's ripe for that. And here's the deal. In law enforcement, more than any other type of organization, law enforcement organizations nationally, and there's 18,000 of them, they succeed or fail based upon who is the individual at that top executive position, the chief or the sheriff. Everything goes down the leash from there. Okay, so the reason you're seeing the things that we see now is because there's a ineptitude of the command staff. And I'm saying specifically the sheriff and his handpicked assistant sheriffs, one of them who is my competitor. Again, I know all these guys, they work for me. So most people at the sheriff's office are good human beings. There's top performers there, 15-20% of them. No matter what you do to them, they're going to come and show up and give their best because they're well-balanced human beings. Their heart's in the right place. There's a bottom sector too of how do you want to say, mouth breathers, these men, these people who don't care anymore, didn't start out that way in the academy. They were ambitious people and the job was too much for them. I've written a lot about this.
Something happened. We can't hear anymore.
Pardon me? Madam, I didn't hear your question.
Something happened. We can't hear all of a sudden.
Victoria, we can hear. So I think it's on your end. You might want to come out and come back in.
Do you want me to continue?
No, yes.
Yes.
Okay. So there's 60-70% of people in that middle that are in between the top flight performers and the people that need to be dealt with better. And by the way, I'm the right guy for that. Those 60 or 70 people can really influence culture with good leadership. They're dying for good leadership. Somebody who will work harder than them, who holds people accountable, who is committed to to an agreed upon mission and vision that I'm going to rebuild when we're in there. So I think that's how you build culture change in an organization, by accountability, transparency. Let's turn the bright lights up inside of that organization. If I get this job, I'm going to probably become like editor emeritus at this magazine, to where I won't write as much there. I want to write locally to our local population and write about what's going on in our community and syndicate my writings to our population so that we can move this big ship together. And I think we can do it.
Thank you.
Oh, by the way, I'm sorry. You also asked about the housing first versus recovery.
Yeah.
So we'd have to, if I get this job, we're going to have to spend some time talking about these things, because I need to be more educated. I do these are not the first time I've heard these ideas. I want to say this. When you actually care for another person and invest in them and help them, that people who are having a hard time, help them along to their capacity, have some accountability metrics, because I think some accountability, a level of accountability is sometimes missing, and people, just like in a family, we're accountable to one another. We need to treat these people like us, like we hold each other accountable to an expectation as well. And for example, at the Gospel Mission, we don't allow people, if they come in drunk and angry and troublemaking, we tell them, come back when you're sober so we can help you. Things like that. So I don't know, like
That's not necessary. That's just not necessary to say, sir. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Okay.
Again, I preface all this is I want to learn with you. I'm not saying that I'm the expert in these things, but I think what we want is the same thing. So, these are big issues that are not being healed or corrected right now. So what we're doing, I don't think is working good enough. I think that we need to get the right minds together, come up with a plan, just like I would do with the Board of Supervisors on other things, and work together to cause goodness to happen.
Thank you. Kathleen, then Ludmilla, Sharon, Eddie, and Victoria.
Well, thank you, and good morning to John, my old friend, and to Dave, whom I've met a couple of times, and I'm glad to see you here. I think I want to cut to the chase here. The issue. Number one, the sheriff does not formulate homeless policy. The sheriff will carry it out, and it's certainly good for the sheriff to be conversant in how this can best be done.
Indeed.
However, as I'm saying, where the rubber really meets the road here is the sheriff's relationship with the independent auditor. And that is a contentious one at best. Under Sheriff Freitas, no question of it. He refused to even have the word oversight in the title of the new agency because it implied management. He was very, very concerned about that. Under Mark Essick, he made lots of excuses about how he had to do what Freitas wanted him to do on the task force, and on and on and on. Has proven to be at least as stubborn or more stubborn than Sheriff Freitas was about dismantling the mission of accountability and accountability and transparency that IOLERO has as its core mission. The sheriff has studiously refused to cooperate with the independent auditors. There have been a few gestures under the second director who actually seems to have made the sheriff very happy. He said he was very excited to work with her. And under her tenure, we saw a dismantling of the hard work that Jerry Threet, the original director, had done. That situation hasn't changed. The power of the Deputy Sheriff's Union was demonstrated clearly in the Measure P campaign, and they resorted to lies and other things to try and pull it off. And thank God they failed. But the union is always there pushing the sheriff. And the question remains, all of the candidates say, oh, yes, I support Measure P. I support accountability and transparency. And in fact, that's not true. They really don't. And so how are we to actually judge? What will you do that is different? How can you assure us that you will open files, that you will allow complete and independent investigation of complaints against the sheriff's office?
Yeah, okay, I hear your passion. And let me tell you that past performance does predict future returns. I am asking all voters, there were 300,000 voters in county, turn the bright lights up on all of us. I'm the guy who goes after troublemakers, okay? And I've been that way. I am going to work hand in glove with IOLERO and their Citizens Advisory Committee. I'm going to listen to them. The reason that they're there and that this program, this department at the sheriff's, in the county, there's only 28 of them. The reason that it's there is because the Board of Supervisors distrust of the sheriff and his office. The last 2 elected sheriffs have been a train wreck, and I'm going in there to fix that, okay? Listen, words are not trite to me. I will not say anything that I do not believe. And you mentioned that, candidates are going to say this and that. Hell yes, I've already seen it, okay? But once, and I think that, listen, I've fired people. We could go on and on about this, and I know I heard your passion as well, but let me tell you this. I have super high performance expectations. I'm going to work hand in glove with the Office of IOLERO. They will, if and when there's officer involved shootings, for example, and I've been on many of those at the executive level, and even as a detective, I want to tell you that. I got a lot of saddle time in this. If I get that call in the middle of the night that there was one such thing, the sheriff always goes and does a walkthrough of the scene once that it's been, locked down. First thing I'm going to do is call that other department head and say, may I pick you up so we can do this together, okay? When there's, I have zero problem with the IOLERO director sitting in on internal affairs investigations with my investigator. Read my articles on these things. I have said that the internal affairs investigations need to be the absolute best product that your law enforcement organization nationally, and again, I write to 18,000 police chiefs and sheriffs, the best product that your organization can give. It's the expectations are that high. I know how to do this. I've lived and worked in that labyrinth for a long time. I'm going to tell you, my competitors, I believe that job would eat them alive and you guys will stay just as angry. I think. Could be wrong, but I believe that, again, past performance predicts future returns. You look at my work record. I kept all of my performance evaluations. They all say outstanding because all I do is work. I'm passionate about these things, and I like quality performance. And even in, my vision is for cops to be healthy and balanced so that they can be guardians in their communities. I'm going to the Sonoma County Sheriff's Office is a great petri dish to prove that this can happen and then let that model pervade beyond us. I'm getting back into this because I want purpose and I have a happy life now. I am, like John said, I got my grandkids 1.5 miles away from me. I'm a writer. I have success in speaking.
Okay, Dave,
Yes.
I got to stop you because we're running over already, and we do have other topics. And we got 3 more people who want to talk to you at least, and I've got a question or 2. I just want to make a point that the reason for is a lot because of people like Kathleen and Anita and others here who, it's not just the supervisors who were upset. I'm sure you know that. Ludmilla, you're next.
Hello, and thank you so much for being here.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ludmilla. Let me stop just a second. Albert and Bruce came in. I see Heck's way. We're meeting with a candidate for sheriff, Dave Edmonds. So that's what we're doing today, is asking him questions, talking about the sheriffs. All right, Ludmilla, you're up. Thank you.
So hi, so I'm Ludmilla Bade, and I'm the current continuum of care board representative for lived experience people. One of them, there's also a youth representative. And one thing I want to do is invite you to just get a COC membership, where there's currently two kinds. There's one which is just kind of general interest, general membership, and that's just, you get on the mailing list for continuum of care stuff, meetings, the occasional the occasional cryptic and under informative email about something, and also I would really love to see a collaboration across the continuum of care, and the charter has recently been changed a couple of months ago. And so now voting membership is for organizations, and I would love to see the sheriffs and any other organizations, perhaps. I mean, Redwood Gospel, that be a have an organizational membership so that you are informed in the loop, and can go from there. I really appreciate that you are looking into the causes of homelessness and looking at a more trauma-informed, more broad look at what is causing this. How can we support people to recover? There's a lot of work to be done in that, and a lot of awareness and understanding. One of the big problems in this county is I see a lot of judgment, a lot of hate, a lot of us and them, and that are really destructive of any kind of collaborative process, and destructive of the basic respect that people need to feel included and become part of, and be able to function, and come out of the things that have create fragility, that create anger, that have disempowered them, and be able to regain the courage and the stability to be part of helping to solve things. I really want to thank you for that. I want to know how would you feel about a kind of a mediation group that would happen between the community, like between the housed community and who might be complaining about an issue, and people who are being asked to remove a structure by code enforcement, or by being asked to have the sheriff move a camp along. In other words, what I see happening right now is that a citizen creates a complaint, and then they push that through to the board of supervisors or the sheriff's offices and goes, oh, those dirty people need to be moved, or those people with a tent or an occupied trailer need to be moved along and forced off of a place, which basically creates homelessness, okay, or makes it worse by destroying communities that could be helping to support each other survive. And then the sheriff is kind of forced to kind of come in and be part of removing and disassembling something, instead of the community being able to come together and find out what the specific points that are not working in that situation, and getting help to resolve those actual issues. In other words, it becomes a thing of removing the people rather than removing the problem currently. And the sheriff is often kind of caught in the middle because they're being required to do that at threat of great community negativity. I'm wondering if you would support having kind of a mediation group, that when there's a complaint received by the neighbors on something, that resolution of the actual problem issues could be worked on with like a minimum of harm to the community or to the individuals that are trying to do their best to live in a particular place.
So we have an answer now?
Thank you.
Yeah, so good question. So with regards to your invitation to join, would you, in the chat, you'll see my email address. If you'd send me the information on that, I'd greatly appreciate it. And then with regards to this mediation effort, I think that this would be one of the topics that, let's say, Adrian, you said the election's in November. That would actually be for a runoff. The election's in June. If I can get 51% and win this thing in June, you and me, us, we can start vision casting together. And I liked what you said, and there's hope in that. Probably some things, you know, they're going to try to get in the way of it, but that always, whenever you're trying to do good, things get in the way and you just have to keep pushing. So I think that this is what I kind of alluded to in my opening, that as sheriff and even as sheriff-elect, if I won in June, we'd start working on this before my appointment in January. You and I would hope, we would, and others, we would start meeting together regularly so that we can start building this model. That's my hope, is that we hear you're smart people and passionate people, including all of you, who have visionary hopes, and you're casting them forward. Let's do that in a professionalized setting where we can come up with a model and then try these things, just like you said.
Thank you. Let's see, Sharon, you're next.
Hello, my name is Sharon Hoffman. I have a couple of questions that aren't immediately tied to homelessness, but to your position as a administrator.
Yes.
And I'm curious to know if you have any notions about hiring policy in ways that could be conducted more effectively, so you don't end up with people in law enforcement who shouldn't be there. Specifically, the idea that military service somehow prepared somebody to be a policeman. I think it's probably almost the opposite. And that worries me. And the other thing, I wonder if you have any notions of policy that would shift the way that it seems to me the initial 2 or 3 minutes of contact between the police and the public is a really important moment in time, and that it oftentimes is not handled well. And that's why further down, you know, in the minutes that follow, things do not go well.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to, I was curious about that.
2 outstanding questions that would take, I'm going to give my best shot at them in a real truncated version, because
yeah, that's of course.
This is not a neither are truncated issues. So your first one was about, you know, who would I hope to employ? And here's the thing, at all law enforcement organizations, the front door is the important one. We spend all the time on the back door. Once an employee has government rights, it's hard to get rid of employees who are marginal. Okay, and my standards are not marginal. I ordinarily with most of these people, I said that 60 or 70% in the middle, they're dying for good leadership, and they will perform to that capacity if they got a good leader. You can clean up a lot of this stuff with leadership. You indeed can. So the front door is really a big deal to me, hiring the right people at the very beginning, and it needs to be improved drastically. Let me tell you that also, by the way, our law enforcement agencies should mirror the community that they serve. This community is 1/3 Latino, and of course, half the community is female. Okay, so this is a recruitment problem that the sheriff's office has, that they're not getting the best qualified candidates in these different sectors. I'm going to go to the Board of Supervisors and say, in that line item, because this is all line item budgeting, that I've managed big multi-million-dollar line budgets before, effectively, I'm going to say I need more money for that recruitment, and I want to go out and recruit the right people, create the testing process that allows the best people to get into this. And I do agree with you that military isn't per se the best place. It can be the worst. Okay, we need to be, as John Mutt says, we need to be guardians and not warriors. I like that. I like that spirit idea to that. So that's my short version on that answer. Much longer, we take it offline if you want. And then with regards to those seminal first 2 or 3 minutes of those contexts, indeed, it's absolutely true. And here's how you can do that better. A lot of, again, you understand that I have a position on these things nationally with my readership. And I've written about this as well. Here's the secret to all of this. Men and women in law enforcement have the highest of government rights and authority and power. They're literally government walking around in uniform. And so when we go in, we get called to tense situations where people, you're not seeing the best day in their life, you're seeing the worst day in their life through and anger, tragedy, and then the beat cop. And by the way, Sonoma County's beats are up to 400 and something square miles, and the minimum staffing is 2 deputies. Think about that. Okay, so that one deputy that gets on that call, then methamphetamine is involved in it, domestic tensions are involved in it. He or she has to be a person who has some command presence, okay? Because some of these things can start out. I've gone into a situation and it's just being attacked. It's just Dave here, but I am government, so I am attacked physically. Okay, if you're not able to handle those things in the right manner, they can get lethal really quick, and I've seen that happen unnecessarily. So here's the truth. And again, there's a much longer answer to this. I'm giving you a truncated version. We need to make our law enforcement nationwide more capable, so that these human beings, these men and women who took this job, have the capacity in those first 2 or 3 minutes, like you said, to de-escalate the situation. Some of that comes, by the way, through this idea of real command presence. Okay, in other words, where the person sees that this cop is trying to be kind to me, is trying to work things, trying to de-escalate this situation. But if I keep trying to escalate it, this human being can handle himself or herself, okay? So that no physical tension ever happens. If I'm going to tell you, there's some bad actors out there. If they see that they can whip you, okay, physically, you're going to have a hard time talking some of these people out of it. Okay, so our fitness and wellness levels in law enforcement, that's what 360 Armor is about. I've been pumping that well for 12 years now. It's about getting men and women fit and well, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Okay, however they get there. Okay, I'm not proselytizing. I'm just saying, tighten things up. You took this sacred role in our community. You need to be have the capacity to do it, and we need to help you do that. Okay, I have seen cops who are morbidly obese, who have COPD, that wheeze when they get up out of the chair for a briefing, and they're supposed to go and save us. It's just not. They have the incredible property rights to these jobs, and the government says you only have to meet minimal acceptable standards to keep your job. So you can see, as an executive,
Okay. We get it, and we hear your passion. So that's
so let's
really
take that
cool.
one offline if you want to. I'll be happy to answer more of it.
Yeah, more discussion followed, obviously. Eddie, you're back. What's next?
And thank you so much. A really important thing, and I wanted the topic of discrimination. And I wanted to also give my own opinion of it. In our region, it's very different because it's rural mixing with suburban. I mean, it's a very strange mix. So what I find in the inner circles of poverty is that discrimination is just based on economic class. So and also police are like any other job. And I know you mentioned sort of that, but the people that are there are the same people that are in any other place where, you're gonna have bad apples. You're gonna have people that, you really don't know well, and something can happen. So it's not like, it's not postal or anything. So we're lucky that way, but there's all walks of life. I'm sorry. In my 8 years, I survived on the street in Santa Rosa. In my first couple of years while surviving, having the backpack, my ball and chain, was an automatic. I mean, I got stopped by police in Santa Rosa police for doing absolutely nothing except riding my bike down the road. Clearly, I was being discriminated against, and there was no reason for stopping me. And I ended up with felony charges for, and a knee in my back, on Santa Rosa Avenue. The police never showed up at court, and everything was dismissed. And that was discrimination, and it was based on my economic class. Now, that's what happens inside the inner circle of poverty, mostly in your defense, because in our capitalist society, people in poverty are going to commit crimes, and therefore they're going to engage police more. So it's that simple. But in our area, it's a lot different.
So
And
Eddie,
we have
Eddie, would
both
you
cases
have a question
we
you want
have
to
both-
ask?
yes, we have both cases of the economic discrimination, which we address, but also we do have, racial, and it's my opinion to think that Lopez was killed because of his race, and I think he was, and I think that, are you guys doing anything to address both of those things, both types of discrimination? And remember, one which has no, the other thing I wanted to mention really quick was, I've written 2 books, by the way, and one's Directions to Mercy Street is going to be coming out very soon, and Directions to the Dumpster, I expressed to the police are, making a point to actually target homeless people. And they were for the first couple of years that I was out there. That stopped. And I wrote in Mercy Street, and you'll be happy about this because the police are very helpful now to the yes. I thought that they made great changes over the last couple of years, and I hope that those continue. And so I think that the police have done a great job with the homeless as of lately and over the last few years, and just keep that up. The other thing was the success rates at the mission are not that great. And I want you to understand that you have to go if it's true. And the other thing is, you have to go, they will impose. So I have to, if I'm hungry and I'm on the street, I got to go sit through their, thing. And let me just say that I enjoyed it. It wasn't all that bad. I did that. And I never was welcome there to stay or any, I'm just saying that there's a lot of judgment that goes on and thank you and for letting me just get that out there. I had to just mention discrimination. I'd vote for you.
Yeah, I have a question.
I can give you a bright line response to that. I detest discrimination coming from individuals, especially individuals with power. And if that existed in my sheriff's office, I would be after that, with a laser focus. So people deserve their dignity, period.
Thank you. And that was a lovely, concise answer. Now let's see if we get a concise question. I think we can from Victoria.
Yes. I wanted to know, first of all, if you have any citizen complaints in your personnel file.
So I have absolutely, that's a great question. And ask all of the candidates these things, okay? In my 30-something years of law enforcement, I have, my only discipline is I missed a mandatory firearms range shoot. They have to happen quarterly. In 1991, I missed 1 quarter. So I've got a letter of reprimand. That's the only discipline that I have in my jacket. It's thick, okay? I have no sustained complaints, no sustained, I don't have anything sustained other than that in my record. Great question, ask the other people that as well.
Yes, I will, but I wanted to ask if any had been filed, not if they were sustained, because personally, I do not trust the review system, and they don't sustain any of them, in my opinion. So I want to know if there's any filed.
Listen, when I was in charge of internal affairs, I can't tell you what's going on there now, but when I was in charge of internal affairs, I beg to differ with you. I have high standards, and the process is a legal one. So don't confuse justice with legality in any situation, because the law, our legal system hopefully is pursuing justice, but it is the legal system as well. And cops are government employees. They have rights as any government employee, and we have to follow those things. So you asked if I have any. Do I have complaints? Obviously, people complained against me as a deputy sheriff over my 30-something years, particularly out on patrol. I don't remember what these different complaints were, but nothing ever rose to where I was indicted or anything like that. And I respect people's rights. I'm not thinking of anything in my head that I would do over and that I did wrong and I would do over. I'm not. That's why I think people can follow me, because I have those high bars, and I hold those bars up to myself first. So no, there's nothing there.
Tell us, Dave, if you, I think we all understand you're going to get complaints if you're a sheriff, but are we talking about 5 complaints over the year? 2000.
Well, I imagine 5 would probably be a hell of a lot closer, and it might even be less than that. Well, I was an active cop. Okay, there's a need for law enforcement and community, and you got your money's worth from me when I was out on patrol.
We are now in the lightning round. Here. So we're gonna do yes or no
Okay.
and very short questions. I have a couple I'm trying to get in. And Victoria, I think you have some background noise. Anyone who's not talking, if you could mute, that would be great. Kathleen and Gregory, and I mean it really quick.
Yeah, I wasn't planning to bring this up, but since the topic has arisen, the fact is that there was a complaint filed against Mr. Edmonds, as well as any number of other officers. It was a fellow officer gender harassment case. The case, well, I was told initially that the charges were dropped against Mr. Edmonds. However, it would seem that that is not the case. What actually happened is the case came to settlement. It was closed. The settlement was $160,000 to the plaintiff, and the charges. His name has never been removed from that lawsuit. The charges are still there, but that lawsuit has been.
You're talking about me? You're talking about me?
Yes, you. Yes.
I think you're wrong on all of that. Candidly, just we get it since we're in the lightning round, as you said. I remember that deputy, and that deputy. I think that I would change nothing that I did in my management of that. I think a singular incident. I read, and by the way, I sent you, I believe, also the dismissal. When I first heard I was named in a lawsuit, candidly, I went through the roof. I called the attorney. I said, these people are infringing on my credibility, and I did nothing wrong here, and you need to get me dropped out of this, or I want to sue them. I did zero wrong in that incident. And then what happens in these lawsuits, especially if you have a supervisor or a management role, and that one indeed too, everybody gets named. I got named in it, okay? 40 names or something like that, just all the way down. And I was outraged by that, okay? I did not do anything wrong with that human being, period. I respect people. I have high standards. So bring it on. Turn the bright lights up on that. I disagree with you wholeheartedly. If you think I'm guilty of anything, zero on that.
Please don't put words in my mouth. I don't think you're guilty of anything. I'm saying the truth, that your name remains as a defendant in that case. The case has been closed. Your name was never removed.
Kathleen, I think we got the information.
So
obviously, we could do some more on it, but we're getting
Bring it on. Bring it on, please.
Yeah.
I don't want my name besmirched.
I hear you, Dave. I hear you. And you defended yourself very well there.
Thank you,
Gregory.
Yeah, I think I got what I wanted, which is a characterization by Dave on how many complaints have been filed against him compared to other officers. None of us can, we're not going to go into every single complaint. We're not going to go into, but does he believe that he's a whole lot more citizen friendly than anybody else on the force? If factually he had twice as many complaints as the average, cop, then I'd think there's some, fire there. So, I guess, I'm hearing you say, Dave, and correct me if I'm wrong, that if you compared everybody's complaints in the department, you'd be on the low end.
Oh, not only that, I mean, so there's cops that they call them vitamins, minimum daily allowance. That's all you get out of them. I work. When I was working out in the Guerneville substation, I'm proud of my performance out there. The citizens, the homeless, I had a quality relationship with. I could talk to you more about that. So I even though I was active and always staying busy, okay, it's why I came to a sheriff's office instead of a police department. I didn't want to do traffic. So my complaint level is going to be at the absolute lowest, even with prorating it with my busyness. So indeed, I'm confident about those things. Easy peasy. Bring those questions to the other candidates, please. Compare
Quick
side by
question
side.
for me. The first one is the Cahoots style 911 response. Do
Love
you
it.
support that for the
Love it.
sheriff's department?
Love it.
Great.
More, not less. Okay, they're doing, that is brilliant.
Okay, so let me do a follow-up really quickly. If that should come to the sheriff's office and at some point affects the sheriff's budget so that there's less policemen, would you be
Well,
okay with that?
Well, so here's the thing on the budget, real quick. Sheriff's office budget is $210 million, okay? 70% of that is salaries and benefits. I already told you that minimum staffing at the sheriff's office has been since the 80s when I showed up here, and still is, minimum staffing is 2 deputy sheriffs. Okay, what I do think is this: I think law enforcement nationally needs to be funded better, that cops nationally should be paid more, and also expectations higher of them, should be easier for them to lose their jobs. Okay, twice as hard to get in, twice as easy to lose, pay twice as much, or pay something like that. Okay, we need our best human beings doing this critical job in our communities. So with regards to the Cahoots model, yes, that's going to cost the county money, but what are we supposed to do? We can't go down to 1 deputy sheriff in a 400 square mile beat. In this community, if you get a chance, read my article called The Firefighter Corollary. I talk about some of that, how we could fix law enforcement locally and all over the place, okay? For the Firefighter Corollary, you just type those words in Dave Edmonds and you'll find it. So getting back to the Cahoots
So let
model.
me ask you my next question, which is,
Oh,
we
yeah.
have a crowded field, and as you rightfully corrected me, the primary is June. My fear is that a couple of you that I feel like are really progressive and willing to take the risks and the leadership will cancel each other out. And we'll end up with the more conservative business as usual.
Better be careful about that. We need to use some wisdom behind that, indeed. That's why I think there needs to be more debates, more forums, more bring it on anytime, anywhere. I'm at peace about this stuff. I want us to be compared side by side. I told my campaign manager I wanted, let's build a page on my website that edmondsforsheriff.com/compare. So and let the other candidates put all
That's
this
not
stuff.
really my question. My question is, we got, I think, 5 candidates. I don't think it's not the biggest person wins, right? I guess it's who gets into the next level is part of it, but it's not like we get to choose and rank people. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say, ranked choice voting. So I've seen this happen in many, many elections where there's 2 great candidates and the third one who's terrible. The 2 great ones split their vote and the terrible one gets in.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I want to know if you're going to collaborate with the other candidates to figure out who's actually going to be winning and support whoever's the winning people.
Like I told you, I'm in a wilderness of mirrors. I've never done this stuff before. I want goodness to happen. I want the best candidate to win. Okay, when I was competitive at the sheriff's office, and every position I went into, and I went into a lot of them. Okay, I did damn near everything you can do at the sheriff's office. I see shiny things everywhere. On every time that I competed for a job, except for one, I always felt in my heart that I believed I was the right person. On that one job, they asked me and I said, if you don't give it to Larry, I want it because he's better than me for this position. I'm going to say the same thing here. If any one of these human beings are better than me, I want them to do the job instead of me, period. I'm at peace about this stuff. But I think when you turn up the bright lights, I'm going to get your vote.
All right. So for those of you who came in a little late, we've been talking to Dave Edmonds. He's running for sheriff. The primary is in June, and hopefully he's going to get into the next set and we'll be voting again in November. His contact information is in the chat. And I think I'm just going to thank you, Dave and John, for coming. And maybe sometime in the summer when you're still in the midst, we'll have a really focused conversation just on homelessness. Because that would be so.
Adrian, I have a burning desire for one quick question that you cut me off short the last time.
I'm sorry. And I see
was-
that Albert also wants to talk. So let's go ahead and try a little longer. We're going to be running late here, folks. Hopefully no more than 15 minutes. Go ahead, Victoria.
What's he gonna do if ICE wants him to send undocumented him to them?
I don't understand the question.
Would you explain a little further, Victoria?
Yes, immigration issues where sheriffs are the ones that make the decision on how they're gonna cooperate or not with the feds on turning over the undocumented after they're done with their sentences in the local.
Okay, so
You
let's.
understand now?
Okay, I understand your question now.
Are you going to cooperate?
Okay, I understand your question on immigration. Let me tell you that I think that I have to learn more of the legalities of these things, but I think that I would have to not cooperate if there's any chance that a good human being who's living here in Sonoma County, white, brown, black, I don't care what color, could be removed from here. A good human being. I won't cooperate with that. No way in the world. Listen, I've helped friends get citizenship here. You need to understand my stories on these things. My daughter and I were thrown in jail in Africa helping a community. Okay, we put a well in there for this community, and so bad things can happen. I've been a victim of it. But as sheriff, no, the job is protecting people, all people. Okay, so I'm not going to mess that one up. I promise you that those things. So I need to learn. I need to learn about the federal stuff and all that, and I will. I'm a quick study, and as soon as I win it, if I win the election, I'm sorry. Okay.
You'll do great if you're
Thank you
right
very
to
much.
study it.
Sure.
Albert, you had a question?
Yes, I have a question that might more properly be answered by Mr. Mutz. And my question is, and I'll preface it with this statement. In 75, 76, I was the investigator for the Berkeley Police Review Commission. And that year saw us, the commission that is, through a year of litigation on this very subject of meet and confer. So my point being, this has been part of the contract for how many years now? We're pushing up on 50 here. And I'm really wondering, just this one question, the drafters of the Iolero ordinance, good intentions are not enough. I would like to know specifically, if anyone dares to answer, where was county council on this? That person was subject to all the salary discussions and was the key person in a position to advise the drafters of the ordinance. This is not going to fly as written, and this is why. How much money has been wasted? How much public faith has been lost while people wring their hands and not a goddamn thing is accomplished because of this meet and confer? It is inescapable. It was inescapable in 75. Why was this not seen? This is a roadblock that could have been hurdled with ease had people been properly informed in the right moment. What happened, please?
I can't answer that. All those things happened behind closed doors, and so we don't know what happened there. I can't.
I think Mr. Mutz might have the answer.
Thank
You
you.
have a comment, sir?
Yeah, I can comment, Albert, just real quickly. I know we're over time. First of all, Albert, thanks for being involved in those early days of the Berkeley reform effort. I know it was difficult, like it is around the country. I think I agree with you that the county could have been more engaged and involved in that. They weren't. But the ballot measure was well written and well founded in case law, and ultimately, I believe, will be adopted. So there's that. And a lot of credit goes to Jerry Threet for his effort to do that. So that's number one. Number two, Albert, is that police unions will always raise the issue of meet and confer. That is a consistent practice they do, and they overstep it. And what they're doing and what they have been doing is using it to dilute police reform. They have lost a lot of the influence they've had in the past. And it's a new world now. And so we are now catching up to the will of the people in terms of transparency, reform, equity, and holding police leadership accountable for leading that. So I know we don't have a good record on this, but we're in a new world. So I would say that to you. Thank you.
Well,
Could you please repeat that last sentence? It was very good and I didn't get it.
I just believe that, first of all, the meet and confer is
Using it to dilute police reform.
Pardon me? Oh, police unions.
You were saying using it to dilute police reform.
Yeah,
and putting it up to the will of the, leading it up to the will of the people, and then you listed about 3 or 4 things.
Yeah, you know, again, with, as Dave said, there's more light on this. The will of the people, at least Sonoma County, has been spoken with Measure P, and the union was not successful in convincing the public that Measure P was not a good deal. So that there's a trend here that I'm saying we are in a new world, and now we really have to lead it. That's what I'm saying.
That's very helpful. John, someone is asking for your email in the chat, if you don't mind sharing.
Sure, I can do that.
You know, thank you, Dave. Thank you for being so honest and open and letting us just pummel you with questions. And I really appreciate your time, and happy Martin Luther King Jr. birthday.
Thank you. May I have just a 1-minute close?
You may, of course.
Listen, I think that we're simpatico, and this is why, because we have the same hope for this this segment of our community. I want to be the sheriff at a heart level that causes real positive change to happen inside of our community. I love Sonoma County. I love the people here. I love that organization that needs to be cleaned up. And I tell you, when I become sheriff, I'm gonna have to crack some eggs probably, but it's going to be a healthy environment there where people are going to finally want to be coming to work as they're driving there. I know that I can do this. I know that I want to do this. I know that I will do it. And the words are not trite with me. I want to work with you. I want to bring the bright minds together that have been in the saddle for a long time, trying to achieve goodness with the homeless population. Let's all meet. I will help table this stuff. I'll help you to lead it so that we can try these new things. It's a big deal to me. I know it's a big deal to you because all of you are here. So please turn the bright lights up on them. Go to my website, edmondsforsheriff.com. My resume is on there. Ask my competitors for their resume. None of them are exposing their personal resumes, their work resumes. Ask them for it so you can compare us side by side. I hope all of you go to my website, edmondsforsheriff.com, check it out, and vote for me, please. I'd love to have your support. If I've convinced any of you, please go there as well and give me an endorsement, okay? It's a David and Goliath thing, I'm going to tell you, but we can do this. Thank you again for your time.
Yeah, it's very, very important. No
I'm
doubt.
sold. I'm going to volunteer on your campaign unless it's negative for your campaign. Thank you.
Right on, Victoria. Gregory, last word?
Yeah, I was just going to say that this tape probably tomorrow afternoon will start to be on the Homeless Action webpage. Grace and I will work together to be able to put it there. So if you have anybody who you'd like to have hear this, Dave and John, direct them to the Homeless Action webpage. I'll also send to each of you the link to the YouTube video after it's up on YouTube, and you can pass it on to anybody you want.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you,
we have to
Gregory.
turn our attention. We have two somewhat major items. I want to just move through them. Thank you very much, Dave. Stick around if you want, but you're off the hook now.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and let you guys do your work. Okay, thank you. Bless,
Thank
bless
you.
all.
Thank you,
Yeah.
because some of it is confidential. Thank you.
So thank you for everybody that's sticking around. I'm hoping we could get through this by 11:15, which is like 7 minutes. So that could be a little difficult. There are two topics I think are urgent. One is that SAVE's project is under threat in Sebastopol. There's a lawsuit. It looks like a fairly serious lawsuit. If they get in front of a judge and get a temporary restraining order, the funding will probably get pulled and we'll probably just take the whole thing. So we're going to be doing major outreach starting tomorrow morning at 9. We're going to go knock on doors. We have a brochure. We're going to do email outreach. We're going to do a lot of stuff because we want to stop the fundraising for the lawyers. These are high-priced San Francisco lawyers, and just generally get a lot of community support. We also need people to come to the Sebastopol City Council tomorrow night and just make a comment in public comment that you support this. So if we do get into the judge and the opponents say, oh, that everyone hates it, we have documented evidence that a lot of people don't hate it and a lot of people think it's a great thing, which is true. We have a lot of support in Sebastopol, probably the majority, but we haven't really activated it to the extent that we need to do. So if you can help on Tuesday morning at 9, there's going to be an effort to go out and flyer in the neighborhoods and talk to people. So that's one thing that I want to encourage people to do. And then Tuesday night at the city council meeting. Yes, Albert.
The fact that you mentioned expensive San Francisco attorneys suggests to me that this is some people who reside in Sebastopol but don't live there. It's
The
suburbia.
people behind it seem to be relatively newcomers in the last year or two. So that's one thing.
They're
And they
not
have money.
involved in the community. They just live there. And that gives them an entirely different mindset than people that are more genuine Sebastopolians.
Yeah. Kathleen, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I'm just wondering who's John as the plaintiff?
I don't know. They haven't filed anything officially yet. The theory is that they're going to be in court filing this Friday. So we don't know yet.
I'm sorry to hear this.
Oh yeah, it's such a drag. I can tell you. Okay, the other topic.
This comes at a real difficult time for SAVES, because SAVES is going through some changes right now on the board, and this is very bad for us. And I just hope that we stick together and just weather this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Then the other topic is the Steamers Landing lawsuit. And Victoria has asked us to work towards becoming a named plaintiff. Is it named plaintiff? And to do that, we have to have.
Well, actually, we have already been named.
Okay, so this would improve
And
our
we're
standing in
preparing.
the case. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, actually, what we're doing is we're anticipating challenges to our participation. And by case law, the other nonprofits or representative organizations that have joined lawsuits of people have had to have a nexus of, the way Colleen explained it, was doing something within your purview, but it's not necessarily what you ordinarily do. So one simple way we could do it is by financing one gentleman and one cat for 1 week because he was not being allowed into the Mary Isaac shelter. However, this is fluctuating. We're still working on it. We would, and I sent a memo out this morning, or was it last night? Last night and this morning, regarding this issue that, sorry, that, we can either authorize this $800, about $839 or so, for a week at the Best Western in Southern Petaluma that covers the cat. The cat's costs are covered in there. So this is cheaper than the $1,000 a week that have happened before. But anyway, if we could approve that, it's not necessarily going to happen. But at least if it's approved, it's there if we need it. The other question that we're looking into to develop and build on our nexus to the community is to assist this one gentleman, a named plaintiff, in registering his trailer. So that's being developed right now, looked into more. But in concept, if we could have these issues approved, it would be good to show the attorneys that we're cooperating in the litigation as much as we can. Thank you.
So I didn't follow all that. Did anyone else just know what Victor said and could send us of words, because it's complicated? I see hands up, but can someone, Gregory, are you saying you could just repeat that back?
I move that Homeless Action authorize the expenditure of $839 if needed to house a steamer lane occupant in the Best Western, and authorize action on the registration of a vehicle for, I think, the same individual. And hope I can get a second.
Okay.
These are two different Matthews. Matthew Erickson has the trailer. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm asking Homeless Action to authorize what Victoria has described.
Well, I second.
Okay, thank you.
By the way, we met last week with Colleen and Alicia, and that's how we developed this. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
And I can attest to that. I was in the meeting.
Okay.
Any more?
So we have a second. That's Eddie. Discussion, Anita and Kathleen.
We can't use that she's spending in Sebastopol, Victoria. That's my first question.
Couldn't hear
And
Pardon
I'm
me?
linking out, damn it.
Yeah.
I said, how
didn't
come
hear
we
your
can't
question.
use the funds? How come we can't use the money that Saves is spending in Sebastopol? I don't understand that.
Because
We are helping
they're
homeless
separate projects.
This is not a Sebastopol.
They're separate projects. They're separate
Okay.
projects. One is of Saves. Homeless
Okay.
Action is a separate organization that is seeking to be a representative of plaintiffs in this litigation.
Okay, so I'm sure you've looked at that already, but my second question is, wouldn't it be better if we provided Steamer Gold with porta potties or did something for the whole general purpose of the encampment rather than giving it to one single individual?
Is that a second motion, Anita?
Now we're having a discussion.
Yeah, aren't we providing porta potties for Steamer Gold?
Not to my knowledge.
Steamer Landing has porta potties already provided.
Okay.
Okay, maybe they need a shower, or maybe they need a place to wash their hands, or maybe we could distribute food for a week.
Anita,
Maybe those
Anita,
are better than giving
helping-
it to one
Anita.
person. I'm sorry, I'm
Okay, let me just tell you, Anita.
Yeah, Victoria, let her finish.
That's all right. That's a reasonable question. That's a reasonable question. But the helping of one person is going to help a lot of people because it's bringing the question forth and it's giving us an opportunity to represent the community and have this history in our record. So
Okay,
that
Okay.
is helpful.
I just
to
want
more
to
than
put that
just
out
one.
there
Yes.
because I
Yeah.
can't.
No, they have a lot of
understand why-
attention. Yeah. No, it's not helping
you.
one person. It's contributing to the questions in the litigation. Thank you.
Thank you. We got a lot of hands up here. I think Colleen and Gregory are next and then Albert.
Wait a minute, I was in there.
I'm sorry.
Me too. I'd like to join too. My hand is up.
Oh, I thought you had spoken. So I'll put you at the end of the stack.
No, I only second for Gregory, and I've been waiting to speak since before.
I was after Anita, I believe, from getting my hand up.
My hand
All
is.
right, Kathleen and then Eddie.
Okay, so on this issue, I'm a little confused about the benefit of spending $850 or so for 1 week for one person because of the cat. I'm wondering, could we consider allowing this person go to COTS and we'll pay for the boarding of the cat for that 1 week? Because after we spend $850, what happens then? You know, it's a question of where this person can be. I think it doesn't solve the problem. So I'm wondering if we could possibly consider this alternative.
Then please forgive me. I know these people. I know the problem. I know the whole thing. May I please speak? You know, first of all, the people here in Petaluma take quality care of these people as far as food goes and as far as other, you know, they're pretty much taken care of. But, you know, they're always going to need, everybody needs food, you know, that's just the food thing. What these people have is a community that has been, you know, broken up. Nobody there is going to want to go to COTS anyway. What they would like to do, and there is the peninsula right there, and they would really like to have someone help them establish a nonprofit so that they might have a sanctioned encampment. That is what they would like to do, to have a place where they can stay. It's that simple. Any other money, it gets
All
wasted.
right, thank you.
It's just gone.
Gregory.
I'm just saying. And so I agree with what we're going to do there, you know, as a quick sort of thing, and we should, but you know, only if needed, as Gregory said. And let's see if we could do something bigger for them. You know, I mean, why can't we just make an encampment for them there? They got the peninsula. You know, we only need a section of it. Sorry, thank you.
And then Albert. Gregory?
Who's next? Oh, okay. Sorry. Didn't hear my name. Yeah, I listened to Kathleen and I listened to Eddie, and I think they both have good points, but I think the point is not having an immediate homeless action paid for solution. The action I'm asking is for homeless action to join the lawsuit so we can be a party to the conversation to try to get something done. We're out of the lawsuit now. We can't even speak to it. We're trying to get Colleen and Victoria into the conversation. That's taking the form of having someone, you know, stay in a hotel, but it could be anything. We just need to have some presence in the lawsuit by doing something that's different from what we usually do, that says, hey, this is why we should be involved in the discussion. You know, if you can.
Exactly, and we can go further with that as well, right? I mean, we can go further than with that.
Absolutely. You know, this is like, this is at the core. Hang on, Eddie. This is at the core of whether homeless action is a radical group trying to solve problems or not. And I just think this is it's a well thought out problem or solution to a ongoing problem that we're not going to solve by putting somebody up in a hotel for a week. But if we get into the lawsuit, we might be able to argue that it needs a whole lot more work.
And not only that, but time is of the essence. That is a simple solution because time is of the essence.
And I think that's worth it because I'm the guy that put up the $1,000 last time we did this out of my own money. And I think that it's worth it for Homeless Action to put up the money that was donated to it.
Yeah, and I can say I've been to get our accountants from the Peace and Justice Center, but because of COVID, they're just slow, and I think they're going through a new bookkeeper. Anyway, I don't have the account balance. But I think we can, this will not take our entire treasury. That's all I can say about that. We have the money. We'll have some left when this is done. I wanted to point out again that Jerry had asked for the documents of the case. And we still, I think, need to get those. Albert.
I want to second what Gregory has been saying with a bit a further statement in matters of the law. You cannot be a party to an action unless you can demonstrate somehow that you have standing. Standing is a term of art. It's not open for discussion or touchy-feely. You either can establish that you have standing, which entitles you to be a party to the action, or you can go whistle Dixie. So if the expenditure of less than $900 is a simple, straightforward way for SAB, HA, whichever, to establish itself as a party that has standing to be a party, please, I'll donate $200. Let's move. Let's get this done, because it isn't just that one person. This is like an icebreaker. And when that one person is in, others will follow. But without standing, you're outside and it's all going on inside, and you're not even a party to the conversation. It's money well spent. Let's do it.
All right, Albert, I'll take your $200 and I'll put in 50 of my own. Thank you.
You know, there are also people there. There are also people there that we can go further with if they could have that chaos ending, you know, that exists. So it would be important for other stuff, and we can go further as well. Just, you know, definitely got to stay in it for that.
Yeah. So Ludmilla is asking, why don't we get, let's see here, rent a room one day a week for a series of weeks and use it for multiple people to take a shower? Does anyone know the answer for why this particular?
Okay, they will do that they will do that anyway. Whoever has a room will allow, they do that anyway. So if someone has a room, the other people are going to shower there. No problem. I guarantee you.
This is already happening. Okay.
Yeah, they do that stuff. That's what Lomas people do.
Yep.
Ludmilla doesn't know that, but that's what they do.
All right. Any other discussion about this?
Yeah, hey,
Oh,
Andy, I
was
do
call-
know stuff, so quit with the insults.
Was Colleen going to speak?
I'm sorry, but I find it insulting that you claim that.
Okay.
Cut him off! Cut him off!
All right. Enough.
Was Colleen going to speak?
Was she?
Colleen is not here.
I thought you said Colleen was on the line.
Not that I.
No.
Okay, thank you.
You must
Okay,
have
thank you.
missed it.
Can I?
All right, so this is the motion that's on the table. We're going to vote for it and then we'll end this meeting. We move that Homeless Action authorize the expenditure of $860 to house a Steamer's Landing resident and to consider helping register an RV for a second resident. All in favor, say, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3.
I'm in favor on the phone.
8, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, that's 11 yeses. All opposed? Is that an opposition, Pat? Or did I miss your hand here?
No. Hand came down late. Sorry.
That's all right. So that's 12 yeses and no nos. Anybody want to abstain? Okay,
I'm
the
sorry,
motion
yes.
carries.
I'm sorry,
I
honey.
will
I had to
work with the
breathe.
Peace and Justice Center to get the money to whoever it needs to go to. And we'll be, you know, obviously today was a really unusual meeting with the conversation with Dave for hours, hour and a half. But next week we'll have a better report and we'll have an update, of course, about this. Any other last minute
Go
things
on,
people want to add?
Go on. Yeah, I have an announcement. If you want to watch the Martin Luther King thing, go on Interfaith They should have a recording of it there. It was really dynamite, okay? Some very good entertainers. And I want to tell you, those 2 high school students did their little speeches, and that was very, very powerful. Thank you.
Does anybody know of any other events today that we could attend?
I do.
Just go on Interfaith. Oh, you can't do that, huh?
It's not
I'm
on.
just asking if anybody has anything.
Yeah, she's asking about in-person events, I think.
Oh, check out the mall and see what's happening.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I was just asking, Anita.
I know.
Okay, anything else? I think we're done for the day. Just again, appreciate you all for sticking around. 9 o'clock tomorrow, if you can hand out leaflets and flyers in Sebastopol, I'll send out the details about the meeting in the evening. It starts at.
Where do we meet in the morning? Where do we meet? Where do we meet in the morning?
Look in front of Lucky's, in Sebastopol. It's kind of right across the street
Okay,
from the
thank you.
lot where we're going to set up. All right. Happy Martin Luther King Day, Junior Day, everybody. Bye.
Adrian, hang on for a second. Adrian, are you going to be
Okay.
around?
I'm going to use the bathroom. I'll be back.
Okay,
I'll keep the meeting open.
okay.
Talk and talk.
Why are we staying on?
Because Adrian wants to talk.
You need my
Or
input?
Kathleen wants to talk. Somebody wants to talk.
Yeah,
I just have a
sometimes,
question for Adrian that it doesn't involve anybody else.
Okay, fine.
sometimes it's just so tumultuous. We need a little talk down, because those little interferences and disrespect, they kind of throw a wrench in the works. You know what I'm saying?
He did. He took a breath and came back.
Yeah.
I swear.
Yeah.
He did. He took a breath and came back. He realizes it. Okay.
I don't know that.
Yeah.
Bye.
I'm actually hoping to hear. I would like to hear if Adrian or other safe people are up for it, a little more about this lawsuit situation, just so I can understand it better. Kind of in separate news on the related to the Eddie thing, I would really love to have some kind of a mediation group so that I would really love to help Eddie be a better communicator and get more balanced. I really cannot speak because of his viciousness and antagonism. I cannot speak to him one-on-one anymore. I ceased to do so when he started attacking me back in August. So I need somebody else present there to be a presence, in the conversation. Anyways, but I don't have to take that on now. I did intentionally call him out on his bullshit when he started in on it, so I did say that, and I jumped in, out of the stack and said something, and then he responded to that, so it wasn't just him going at it, it was me.
Yes, okay, fine.
Robert's still on the.
I don't believe.
I
don't.
Yeah, I'm
I
sorry
don't
that I
believe-
wasn't quick enough to say something about it. That was inappropriate, obviously. And just,
Yeah, I don't believe that we need
there's
to
so many
be
things I could
tolerating
say,
this
but-
conduct. He needs to be
Yeah.
warned. If he continues this, we will not allow him into the meeting anymore.
Yeah, that's true. So, you wanted questions about the lawsuit, Ludmilla?
Yeah, this this just completely sucks. I mean, is this going to be like, are you going to be able to move people in to the site? Like you were going to, like last I heard you were looking at like a like a January 15th, 17th? I have kind of a vague sense of it. I may not be accurate. You were
Yeah,
hoping to
no,
move people in.
it's been put off because of various things, mostly holidays and rain. So our opening date is around February 15th at this point. This is the first day actually that we've been able to get onto the property with, to get estimates and stuff. So we're about a month out from,
Really now? It's the first day you've been able to get onto the property to get
right,
estimates?
'cause they had to do demolition
Yeah.
and it's just been, Yeah, Gregory.
Yeah, I guess I'd just like to add, Jack owns the property. We don't have a lease with Jack yet. Jack is doing work on the property in order to be able to lease it to us, which includes demolition, which includes putting a fence in. This has all been negotiated. And so it shouldn't be a terrible surprise if we're not already on the property. However, once we get on the property, the decision by the city council to let us be there will be challenged by the law firm. It's Pacific Legal Foundation. They're the premier lawyers in the state for challenging the CEQA exemption. CEQA was exempted by the city. The city said, we're not going to do a CEQA review. The lawyers are saying they had no right to do that. Okay. And any judge is going to say basically very little evidence. I'll hear this a month from now or 2 months from now. And that is going to delay our use of your money, Ludmilla. And that is what we're worried about.
Okay. If you could just, if you could, I don't even know how to spell this CEQA thing. What
CEQA, California Environmental Quality Act.
Okay. Yeah.
It's the same thing that the Friends of Santa Rosa used to kill Sinead.
Yeah, no, I understand that these like regulations get, or these supposed processes that were originally designed to make things better get used to then delay everything. I get that.
Okay, all right, well then you got it.
Yeah, okay, so I guess one thing I want, okay, I don't intend to help pull any funding from anything like this. Because you haven't, because as far as where I see Albert, I'll just be a sec, Albert. It looks to me like, you have an agreement with the landowner, the requirements that the COC board asked for, it looks to me like you met them, right? Okay, it's like where, you have the community approval, you have the city council approval, and you have the agreement with the landlord, you have a solid plan. You know what I mean? That's all any reasonable person could ask any reasonable person to come up with. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Yeah. But these nuisance lawsuit people that come in and try to gum up the works on stuff. Oh yeah. Okay. Anyways, I'll let the rest of you talk. Let me think a little bit.
Yeah. So our strategy is to really do aggressive neighborhood outreach and try to cut some of their fundraising efforts. I just found out in this meeting that the two people I know most around this lawsuit, Oliver Marks and Kate Hogg, Teddy told me they are connected to CAN. So that's very distressing. Albert,
connected to what?
CAN, Citizens Action Network, who were formed on the Joe Rodota Trail, and they're just people about homelessness. They are very good at causing trouble. Ed, Albert?
I think the best line of attack on the CEQA issue is 8x10 glossy black and whites, lots of them. Shoot up the neighborhood, shoot up the lot. Let's have an aerial and a before and after. This place is probably half an eyesore now, and who's to say that it's going to be worse? That's not the intent. security and everything is in place. And if everything is contained on that lot, if trash services are provided, and so on and so on, where's the environmental quality impact? I'm not seeing it.
Yeah,
I yield to Gregory.
Yeah, Albert raises a great point, because if you're right, Adrian, that we're going to get to a judge and they're going to eventually have to order it, all that kind of photos, what is happening now, Don Davis and the construction crew who are doing the demolition and doing the stuff, we need to document from the beginning what it looked like before, what's being done. It's not like environmental impact starts a month from now. It started 2 weeks ago, and what we need to do is to document that if we're going to, if we're seriously considering challenging it in court all the way through. Otherwise, all we're doing is just standing by while somebody kills us. And
Victoria here?
yes.
Mm.
Go ahead.
Okay. I didn't mean to cut Gregory off, but
it's all right.
I was just wondering if there's like a competition of which is the worst environmental impact, homeless on the street and in the creeks, etc.
Yeah.
Or putting them in this lot.
Those are all good arguments.
Yeah. And I just got to say the lawsuit itself is against the city, not against Saves.
Oh, good.
So they have an attorney on staff. They'll probably hire an attorney to work on it. I mean, we can give them ideas and document things for them, but they'll be the ones. And I think they are going to defend it.
Yeah, we heard, you might want to verify, we heard from the city manager a couple of days, 3 or 4 days ago, I guess you heard, Andrew, that he thought they had a pretty good case. He wasn't initially really seriously considering this as a something that would kill the whole deal. Delaying it is what I'm worried about, because, as you remember, Ludmilla, you guys gave us till November, whatever, to satisfy those things. I think we did. I think we still are, but we can't spend any money on the possibility that we're not going to get reimbursed. I mean, Saves only has a certain amount of cash that we're going to be, and this project is heavy on the first month. If we're going to start spending security and other things, site improvements, $100,000 could go out the door and never come back to Saves. That's what I'm worried about. Now, let me just ask one more thing that I don't think has gotten, I'm sure no one besides you and I know about it. You guys have more money left over, and you're trying to spend it on things that seem to be somewhat consistent. Warming centers, cooling centers. That discussion you had the other day about how do you spend the leftover money. You may have more leftover money than you think if we have to give ours back. And I don't want to just simply ignore the fact that you had a pretty good discussion about how else you could help folks who are out there. If this goes down the tank, I'd like to know as early as possible in order to be, and if you're going to take money back, I'd like to be able to have it be contributed to something positive.
Okay, well, okay, I can't speak for the entire board. Okay, I can't speak for, but where I'm at,
Oh, come on, Ludmilla.
What? Okay, I didn't know.
Just teasing you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. My opinion on this, where things, look from everything that I know, everything that I'm involved in, is that one of the most valuable and productive courses of expenditure, of support, is having a broader level of support for people who are currently on the street or unhoused. You know what I mean? That, like, as in tiny villages, as in safe parking spots, and then probably the only other kind of two things I'm kind of, that would be kind of nice to have, not more than nice, but is some kind of a like a warm line, a place for people to connect and call in and communicate and start to get like really like better than 211, not as cold as 211 and not as siloed as calling an individual provider, but somebody that can help. You can call in and kind of combination of mental health and somebody to talk to anyway, and peer support and getting connected with services and options and having a buddy basically to help you work through things. That would be a wonderful thing to help the homeless people out there. But anyways, but this village thing is a much better investment than $1 bazillion million or whatever it is that they want to spend on some other on these construction projects and all this kind of stuff. I mean, and I'm not against those other projects. It's just that this is like can help so many more people, and it's really kind of a thing of getting it going. I mean, I'm hearing some things. I haven't been following it closely in Santa Rosa about things almost starting to happen there, and so like but you guys so Gregory, I don't see any better use for the funds than this. There's out of a $5.8 million, you guys were allocated, what was it, 280,000 give or take. I forget that.
368,000.
Okay, yeah, I mean that's like a drop in the bucket, as far as and it's an at least an equally as good investment, in helping the homeless as some of these other places. I would love to see more. My only complaint is that there isn't more multiple villages, because I think it's to have a stronger kind of village system and to not have too small village for too many people, to have multiple sites that people could kind of cluster by interest group or by type of people would be an even stronger system. But that's like way far out there. Anyways, getting one is so.
Well, the question, Ludmilla, I mean, I'm trying to think this through myself, is if the problem for us is that they want the state requires us to spend this money by June 30th. And the CDC people have said really that they're really nervous that we won't be able to spend it that fast. We're like, no, we're on track. We're spending it. It's fine. But if this thing gets delayed for a month, then that's a month where we can't really go forward. I don't even know what happens if we can't do it. So at that point, I would think that the staff will come to you, probably your little committee, and say, hey, we got to take this money and put it somewhere else. And all the ideas in the world don't really matter. It's like, who's going to spend it somewhere on some homeless people in how many months is it? February, March, June, March, April. It's very short time to spend almost $400,000.
Okay, so almost 400,000. Okay, so now my understanding of it, now you might have more than, it sounds like you have more than one funding authorization in this. Okay.
Not from the CDC.
One.
Just one. Okay.
We have our outreach, which you gave us from HAP, and this, which you gave us from ESG-CV. We have no others.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the ESG-CV money. Yeah. Okay. So now the ESG-CV money, this needs to be spent by September 30th, 2024.
No, it doesn't. Only the money that came to the county that David Kiff has gets to September 30th. The money that goes to the COC, David has told us, has to be spent by June 30th because it goes to the state and then to the feds. Whereas the first chunk, the one that he has control over, the half that went to the county, doesn't go through the state. It goes directly to the feds. So we have two pots of money, one that has a June 30th deadline, the ones you guys gave out, and another that goes to September 30th, the one you haven't given out, but you've authorized David to spend by his signature.
Okay. That's different than the information I have. I'm surprised about this June 30th thing. That's like the fiscal year thing that they have on the thing. I don't think David is correctly informed, actually, much as I love the guy. Okay.
Right. So our contract says June 30th.
Well, okay. That doesn't make sense because the fund, we were just speaking last week in the ESPCV funding meeting about funding for not for saves, for SAY, and of how that went through September. And that's the funds that we're talking about. Well,
no, it's the funds that go to the county from ESGCV that David has control over. You had two pots of money, and he's taken the one for SAY and all that discussion out of the second pot.
Okay. All right. Well, tell me, okay, so how much do you have through June 30th and how much do you have through September 30th, to your knowledge? More or
We
less?
have nothing for September 30th. He hasn't given us except verbiage about, oh yeah, I'll keep you going from July 1st to September 30th out of my money. And that was 150,000. Okay, 3 months.
Okay.
So he
Okay.
he's orally told us 368 till June, 150 till September, and we'll work on October to, December with other money. But
okay, are we talking 268 or 368?
368.
368 through June 30th.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
So far,
plus 150 for.
No, wait a minute. One more thing. So far, we've put a reimbursement in for the month of December for about $4,000.
Okay. All right. Okay, so you're saying that there's 368 that somebody is saying you have to till June 30th, that David Kiff is saying, and you're saying plus 150 that he's verbally, but you don't have a contract. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
And I don't think that's even a public thing, that 150.
I hadn't heard about that.
So I wouldn't bring that up, actually.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't talk about it because David's trying to keep it quiet.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, all right. So that would be out of the county pot, something out of the county ESGCV funds?
Yes.
Separate. Yeah, okay. Yeah, got it. I may not be doing this perfectly, but I'm trying to keep track of at least some of it. Now, I really question this June 30th thing, because that's crossed up because this funding stream was authorized by the COC board specifically to fund things through September last, and this is the first time I'm hearing of any different date. So this is fascinating to me. I'll work on that separately, without including the 150 in the conversation with anybody else. Yeah. Okay. Now, all right. Yeah, I hear your concerns, and with a lawsuit thing, I don't know how long these lawsuits take, but I mean, I could envision easily 6 months, 5 years, whatever, and the whole point of this funding authorization is for ESGCV. You're not setting up a permanent camp. I mean, it may become a permanent camp, but that's a whole separate conversation, right. And so does that even, just off the top of my head, does that even apply under this environmental thing? Because you're not setting up a permanent structure.
Well, that's the whole argument. So we have said, and the county planning staff has said, the CEQA rules and a lot of the other permitting regulations don't apply because it's temporary. That's why they said all along, you can only be there for a year.
We have this whole project was funded with ESGCV funds. If somebody hasn't noticed, we have a coronavirus, whatever thing, happening out in this county that is of concern to a few other people, right? And the point is to try to give homeless people some kind of protection from that, some kind of safety. That's the point of this whole thing. So this coronavirus thing is here. I mean, this coronavirus thing is an environmental hazard, or whatever you want to carry. It is, and so that's what's being dealt with. I mean, would they, if somebody were erecting a tent for testing, let's say out of a hospital, would they do some environmental study on that because you couldn't erect the tent there? I mean,
if you go back a few years when everybody was trying to get heat money, and I ran around the city, all the counties saying, you just need to get an emergency resolution that says that homelessness is an emergency. And they all adopted it in order to get heat money. And that resolution, according to the state, said you can waive CEQA. Okay. There are workarounds, there are authorizations that the state California Environmental Quality Act, Newsom said, adopt resolutions, you can get heat money and you won't have to do CEQA. Okay. It's
Yeah.
the city. By the way, I want to correct Adrian. It wasn't the county staff. It's the city staff of Sebastopol who've made the connection that you're making. Environmental quality can be waived in an emergency.
Yeah, I intended to, I know that. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. So the
And they said, and furthermore, we could do it even if it didn't happen because it's a temporary, and where our own regulations allow a temporary. So, without the CEQA. So I'm just saying they're saying, cool out, Gregory. It's not going to be an impact long term. We'll get a judge to eventually overrule Pacific Legal Foundation. However, as you point out, it may be September, after the preliminary injunction, so he has time to think about it, and then a decision about whether or not to do it. By that time, we'll be at June, and we won't have been able to spend a dime on this.
Well, you're spending dimes regularly, regardless.
We're operating on the assumption that, Hector has a job, Patrick has an ability to be able to start moving things around on the site.
Yeah.
It's an iffy thing if I can't get reimbursed for it.
Yeah.
Or if you take it away because you're worried that we're not going to spend it.
Right. Okay. So what does Albert want to say?
I just want to say that as a PR move, it may be money down the rat hole, but I seriously doubt it, because no matter how it plays out, it can be a PR advantage. I think that HA SABS needs to make a demonstration of intent, good faith, and proceed as though it's a done deal. And
that's where my heart is.
There is a blockage. Then you go to, hey, look what they've done to us now. We need more money. We need more support. It was all in place, and it's been stopped by people who reside in this town but don't live here. What the hell is going on? We got the tail wagging the dog. Let's get things squared away here. And I think it's go. Make a show of doing what you said you were going to do. And if it turns out that it ends poorly, it's not going to be our fault. It's going to be because of outside interference.
That's for sure.
Shortage of people out there. Hell, for all we know, one of those high-powered lawyers from San Francisco is a homeowner in downtown Sebastopol. This might be 6 blocks from his house, and he might go, oh no way in hell I'm driving by that goddamn thing every day on my way into the office. No, I just won't have it.
Yeah, Albert, there are connections between proponents of the lawsuit and San Francisco's law firm. You can count on that. But I think you're right. SAVES is having an emergency board meeting this afternoon at 5:30, and I appreciate Ludmilla and Albert and your comments, because we're going to have to decide, do we have guts? Is it going to go forward even with all of these risks? How much do we have the support of the COC? That's in my mind, that's the question. If I knew right now that the COC was going to make sure that this thing got open and wasn't going to let either the state or the federal government stop us, I would have much less qualms. But I got to guess whether or not, you're going to be convinced by the staff and the rest of the COC board's going to go, oh, it's much better to give it to Catholic Charities or somebody who knows they can spend it, then give it back to the state. But, it's sort of a question of, who's going to be right and who should be right.
Yeah. So one thing that I keep having kind of a like a it's more than a gut feeling, it's more like a whole body feeling about that just feels like a good path to me. Now, this is not, I don't want to overstep. This is your project. This is your Save's project. I'm not, I'm not on your board. I'm not calling shots. Okay. But I keep feeling that it would make sense and be workable, and also create more of an actuality rather than this theoretical, fear-based conversation about what might or might not happen if a homeless person is allowed to live in the neighborhood. Is to have somebody on site. I mean, what I'm and kind of a growing group of the people who have already been authorized, who've already been applied to be on site. And I'm thinking, have one person there with a clean looking vehicle, camper, as security, okay, and hire them to be security on the site, okay, or work out something that makes sense paperwork, if you want to, and have it be one of the people that you want to have on the site, okay, yeah. And then bring in, okay, that's working, okay, they're stabilized out, nothing's on fire, good, okay. Now, and then within a couple weeks or within a week or two, bring maybe 5 people. Now, I realize that your landlord, Zach is a landlord. Is that the situation?
Jack Tibbetts.
Oh, Jack Tibbetts. Okay. Wants to do this demolition project and all this kind of thing. Again, that's another thing. The fact that I was concerned about that when I first heard about it, that was going to end up being basically what I call fiddling around. I understand it's important. I get that, but it's, I realize the site is not perfect with these obstructions. And so this is why I'm not also saying, well, you could get everybody on there, because I realize the space layer does.
Well, just so you know, all that demolition's done.
Done.
The only thing that they're
okay.
supposed to do is some tree trimming and put up a fence. And they were saying
really?
they would do that in the next few days.
Yeah.
So we need a lease with them. That's also really important.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I would say a lease is important. I would agree with you there. Have that lease signed.
We have an LOI, but
lease,
they haven't gotten around to the lease thing. And
the lease, getting the lease signed would be really good. And I think that was one of the documents that the COC was kind of looking for. If I'm a little fuzzy on that, but that's that document is I think pretty easy to get, given that he's already put the work in it. You already have the agreement. And if you don't have a lease, have some kind of memorandum of understanding. I think that would.
That's what I tried to say. We have that.
Okay.
I mean, we know this. You don't have to say it. We're on top of this part.
Yeah. No. Okay. Yeah. I'm not trying to give you top-down direction here. I'm thinking out loud.
No, it's all right. I'm just very anxious. I have a lot to do.
Okay, my bad. But anyways, so would that, because if you have actual people there and it's shown that the people are not, setting the neighborhood on fire, it's not creating more of a problem. And if you have it and you call it security, you call the first person there security, you have somebody anchoring the camp, the village basically. And then however many more people, I mean, I'm off the top of my head, I'm thinking 5 other things, and then move other people in as you can in sections on the property or something. Just get the people there, because this whole thing about how these NIMBYs have fears about stuff like that, those are going to be answered and resolved by your actually having the village there and working through the problems and including people, community in the process of working out any problems that might arise. And I anticipate those being fairly small problems. I mean, because overall what you're doing is getting people who are on the street off of the street and into a site where they're actually like kind of on a piece of property, which is kind of where people are supposed to live in this county. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's a really interesting thought.
Yeah, we're doing exactly as you've described.
Yeah,
that's been our plan all along, and it's only being a little not confused, but made a little more difficult by Sebastopol's hurrying up of trying to get everybody off of Morris Street. But
Yeah.
That's not our primary problem. Our problem is only that if we do what you're describing, which is what we intend to do, is there something that's going to interrupt it somewhere down the line and frighten the COC?
No, I'm going to say for me, the biggest concern I was kind of seeing from the COC is, will you be able to kind of get going and get on site? You know what I mean? And if you are physically on the site, okay, then it's up to like some legal a-hole or whatever that wants to challenge you, and you know what I mean? And then they've got the uphill climb, you know. I would much rather see you in that position.
Good.
That's
That's okay. That's really interesting, Ludmilla. I made notes.
yeah.
And it'll be helpful in our emergency board meeting this afternoon to decide,
That's
do we go forward?
Yeah, that's why I made the notes.
yeah, you absolutely need to go forward. I mean, I have
Albert had his hand up a couple of times.
yeah, I know.
I just want to say, get the tree trimmers to leave the chips. They're beautiful for mulching things and making a little window dressing, shall we say. Get them to leave the chips, please.
Oh, good point.
Useful.
Oh yeah, yeah. Thank you, Albert. What you said about window dressing. Actually, this is like an old idea that I had from a year or so ago. No, not. I mean, you've expressed it beautifully. Is actually make it look normal. Putting some plants, investing in a few get 5-gallon thing. What to put plants that look like trees or plants in the front and make it look like that, and I don't know, maybe I don't know if you've got some a cute little fence or something in the front, something that makes it look like
Yeah, all of this is planned. We have to have approval from the city about exactly what fence we're doing. It's a 6-foot redwood fence with lattice on top. It's somewhat cute, and definitely landscaping stuff in front of it.
I'm looking for the landscaping stuff, because then people driving by, it's like, oh, it's not a trash heap. It's a place where people live.
Right.
Yeah, we also have a local landscape guy who lives in Sebastopol, who's a very credible certified landscape, who volunteered to do the landscape for free.
Yeah.
So, and we got a bunch of volunteers who are no doubt going to want to put gardens in and other things. So, this can proceed, and without the lawsuit, we'd all be cheering right now. So
Yeah. Yeah. So
and if you want to join us at the City Council of Sebastopol tomorrow night, if there's any questions of,
yeah, no, I would be I would be happy
That
to
would be
attend
great.
that, and if the links for that are going to be up in Homeless Action, I'll look for it there.
Yeah, I'll send it.
What is the street address of this place again?
Yeah, thank you.
845
Adrian.
North Gravenstein Highway. Yeah, drive by, check it out.
We'll do that this afternoon in my same little cruise when I drop the money off at Adrian's house.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. It's it's the old propane place, right across from the Taco
Yeah.
Bell, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, Albert. Hey, Albert, get down with your bad self.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got a Zoom at 12 o'clock that I'm
Yeah.
late, so I'm gonna have to.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you both. That
Okay,
reminder
see you
about
guys
the
later.
chips.
It's
So awesome.
I just want to say what you guys are with this getting this village together is so important for the growth of the whole continuum of care system. To have this is a huge missing link. You know what I mean? Not being able to find any safe parking, any stuff like for the those of us who have vehicles, who have something together, that we just need a landing spot where we're not being hated on. you know, is so, so, so important to so many people who, especially those of us who were working and homeless, who just, you know, who just didn't have access to a shower. I mean, whether or not you get a shower going there, I mean, I hear you, but just someplace where we're not having that icky energy pushed against us, further disempowering and disabling us, is just so, you know, to be able to try to get on top of this, it's so important to have happen, even if there's some bumps in the road. This is just such an essential piece. And
one more piece of good news, Ludmilla. Una Glass got herself appointed to the West County representative on the COC. The mayor, Una, who's a very strong supporter of us, is now your colleague on the COC.
Oh, good. So she's been appointed already for the next board. Great.
Yes.
Great. Good to hear. Good to hear. Anyway, thank you. I don't need any more of your time. I just really wanted to see what was going on and see if I could help any.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
I have a quick question, Ludmilla. What's happening with putting us up on that leak thing?